on your side.
A Coke, maybe some chips, or a lotto ticket. For most of us, a trip to the convenience store is defined by the most conventional transactions. But increasingly, these storefronts are home to some of the most complex financial transactions on the planet. They are called Bitcoin ATMs, and they are used to turn unregulated cryptocurrency into cash. It's a booming business, and while you may not have seen them yet, they are on the rise around the world and on the radar of law enforcement. On Your Side's Ann Schindler reports.
From the most modest of storefronts, a portal into the world of digital finance. There are now more than 24 Bitcoin ATMs in the Jacksonville area. They're used to convert physical currency into a digital form, something that makes it virtually untraceable.
I haven't bought a full Bitcoin yet.
Tim Hudnall buys Bitcoin as an investment.
I invested $700 and I'm at $25,000.
But he says the anonymity of Bitcoin makes it appealing to criminals.
What I would think it would be used for illicit stuff, drugs and illicit acts.
That is new.
First Coast News crime analyst Mark Bachman says the ATMs are increasingly used in drug transactions, making what were once street-level sales very hard to track.
This is characteristic of somebody who wants to remain anonymous, not seen.
And they're increasingly common. The first Bitcoin ATM was installed in the United States in 2014. Today, there are over 8,000. At least 35 in Jacksonville, many at bare-bones convenience stores, vape shops, or liquor stores. Cryptocurrency security firm CipherTrace has flagged Bitcoin ATMs, saying their customers tend to use high-risk and therefore largely unregulated currency exchanges. Those exchanges have been linked to money laundering and other criminal transactions.
I don't necessarily know if everybody that uses them is doing it in a criminal way or a nefarious way, but I think by and large, it's really advantageous to people that are going to not want to be detected by authorities.
The saying right now with Bitcoin ATMs is it's not the Wild West, it's actually anarchy.
Greg Kipper is a cyber forensics expert with Parabon, an IT investigations company. He says the unregulated nature of these ATMs won't last forever.
In many ways, it's real. They're very much here to stay. And again, they're growing in popularity. It's now going to be a question of uniformity and uniformity in regulation.
In that respect, he says, these new currency exchanges aren't that different from old ones.
Same with money. If you just leave money on the counter and no one's watching where it's going to go, it's going to disappear.
Ann Schindler, First Coast News, on your side.